The morning sunlight spilled softly across the kitchen floor as Sarah Mitchell poured coffee into 2 mugs. From the outside, her life looked peaceful. She had been married to Daniel for 14 years. Together they had built a beautiful home, raised a gentle 12-year-old daughter named Emma, and earned the admiration of everyone in their neighborhood. People often said they were the perfect family. Sarah smiled every time she heard those words. If only they knew. Every smile she wore hid a secret she had carried for almost 13 years. A secret she believed would never leave the walls of her own heart. Every night before falling asleep, she silently repeated the same promise to herself. No one can ever know. She believed she could protect everyone she loved if the truth stayed buried forever. But secrets rarely stay buried, especially when someone else is hiding one too. That Monday began like every other. Daniel kissed her forehead before leaving for work. "I'll be late tonight," he said while grabbing his briefcase. "Big meeting." He hesitated for only a second. "Something like that." Sarah noticed the hesitation but ignored it. Marriage had taught her not to question every strange moment. Still, something about his eyes felt different. Not cold, not angry, simply distant. As the front door closed, Sarah watched through the window until his car disappeared around the corner. Only then did she breathe normally again. She walked upstairs toward the bedroom. Inside the closet, behind a stack of old blankets, rested a small wooden box wrapped carefully in faded blue fabric. Her hands trembled as she lifted it onto the bed. Inside were hospital papers, a tiny knitted baby cap, an old photograph, and a letter she had written 13 years ago but never mailed. She unfolded it carefully. "To the child I never got to raise. If one day you wonder why I disappeared, please believe I never stopped loving you." Tears blurred the ink. Long before meeting Daniel, Sarah had been a frightened 19-year-old college student. She had fallen deeply in love with a man who promised forever. When she became pregnant, he disappeared. Completely. Her parents had been drowning in debt. Unable to care for a baby. Unable to support her. A wealthy couple unable to have children had offered adoption. Sarah had spent 9 months talking to the baby growing inside her. Then, one signature changed everything. She remembered the sound of the newborn crying, the tiny fingers wrapping around hers, the nurse gently whispering, "You have to let go now." She never forgot that sentence. Never. She had spent 13 birthdays wondering whether her son was happy, whether he looked like her, whether he hated the mother who disappeared. Daniel never knew. When they met years later, Sarah convinced herself the past no longer mattered. She locked every memory inside that wooden box. Until today, she placed everything back exactly as before, or so she thought. That evening Daniel returned home unusually quiet. During dinner he barely touched his food. Emma chatted happily about school while her parents exchanged nervous glances across the table. Later that night Sarah woke around 2 in the morning. The other side of the bed was empty. She assumed Daniel had gone downstairs for water. Instead, she heard his voice, soft, urgent, coming from the study. The door was almost closed. Sarah wasn't trying to spy. She simply wanted to ask if everything was okay. But then she heard words that froze her entire body. "No, she can't know yet. Not until I'm absolutely certain." Silence. "If she finds out now, she'll never forgive me." Sarah stepped backward before he could see her. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it might wake the entire house. Who was he talking about? What couldn't she know? The next morning Daniel acted completely normal. Too normal. He laughed with Emma, complimented Sarah's breakfast, even kissed her goodbye. But something had changed. For the first time in 14 years, she no longer trusted her husband completely. Over the next week, little things began adding up. Daniel started locking his phone. He deleted messages the moment they appeared. Twice Sarah saw him leave work early, even though he insisted he had stayed late. One Friday afternoon curiosity defeated guilt. She followed him. Keeping several cars behind, she watched Daniel drive across town to a quiet neighborhood she had never visited before. He parked outside a modest brick house. Sarah expected another woman to answer the door. Instead, a teenage boy, around 13 years old, brown hair, kind eyes. Daniel smiled warmly before handing him a paper bag. Then the two hugged. Not casually, not politely, like family. Sarah couldn't breathe. Who was that boy? Why had Daniel never mentioned him? She stayed hidden until Daniel drove away. Then, after several minutes, she gathered enough courage to walk toward the house herself. Before she reached the porch, the front door opened. An elderly woman stepped outside. "Can I help you?" Sarah forced a smile. I was looking for someone. The woman studied her carefully. You must know Daniel. Sarah's heart skipped. You know my husband. Oh yes. He comes every Friday. Every Friday. For how long? About 6 years now. 6 years. Sarah felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. 6 years of lies. 6 years of secret visits. 6 years of hiding something behind closed doors. She whispered, "Who is the boy?" The elderly woman's expression changed instantly. Oh, she looked genuinely surprised. He never told you? Sarah slowly shook her head. The woman sighed. I suppose that wasn't my secret to share. Sarah's voice trembled. Please? I deserve the truth. The elderly woman looked toward the living room window where the teenager sat reading a book. Then she quietly said, that boy's name is Noah. And Daniel promised someone he'd always look after him. Sarah stared at the window. Something about Noah felt strangely familiar, painfully familiar, a feeling she couldn't explain. Then the elderly woman added one sentence. A sentence that would completely destroy everything Sarah believed about her marriage. Noah isn't Daniel's son. He's yours.